We're building a tech product and we recently started running Facebook ads. This is everything we've learned so far running the ads and what we're planning on doing moving forward.
Today, we're going to chat about our Meta ad campaign adventure that we're on currently and just talk about all the learnings that we've had so far and things that like how to get set up, all the things like what we're busy doing, what kind of ads we're running, how much we're spending, what kind of results we're getting, what other marketing we're doing and how this compares, and then what we plan on doing next. And like, because we've put a lot of effort into researching and learning. It's a big learning thing for us. We haven't really done too much of it in the past, but so we just thought we'd share these insights with everyone else so that they can get a little bit of a head start and don't have to go and do all the things we did. All right. So I guess something just to kick us off is why have we decided to use Meta ads in the first place when we are doing the other forms of marketing, and what kind of
and how we got to this point, I think, is probably important. So there's obviously we've been running cold outreach, which worked pretty well at the start, and some organic stuff, though the organic stuff we're still working on, like making that better. One of the fastest ways, even though we're bootstrapped, one of the fastest ways to test messaging, test that the product's working, etc., is by paying for it. And you can pay with your time. You can say, I'm going to dedicate heaps of time to organic content and grow that. That would be a much longer runway. Typically, you're talking 2 to 3 years. And while we're sitting there developing the product, we can be developing it in the wrong direction because we don't have enough data on users and what they want. So one of the things we wanted to do was shortcut that by spending money, get people into the system, get more feedback, more data. And the fastest way to do that, unfortunately, is to pay with US dollars.
Yeah, you couldn't put it any other way. So we've actually seen really good results. I think we've discussed this earlier, but was talking about how well we were doing with so there's 2 different cold outreaches that we're doing. We're doing like an automated cold outreach campaign, but we're also doing cold outreach where we are going and literally finding the creator on YouTube, finding their email. It's a very manual process, finding their email and then contacting them directly. I was seeing really good results from that, like 10 to 20%. And we were converting because once we had them respond, we could convert them easily. It's like book a call. And some of our best creators have been picked up that way. So it's definitely the thing that works best for us, 100%. Like that is the thing. But time-wise, it just drains. Like especially when you're bootstrapped and you've only got 2 people. When you dedicate 50% of your time to that, it just can just destroy the product. Because the way we see it as well is like the product needs to be really good. Like it has to be amazing. And if you're just marketing, we can't deliver on the product. So that's where we kind of came to that conclusion. We need to spend money to get eyes through, and we can get insights where we actually aren't, talking to that person, and then see how they onboard. Because that's going to be really important for scaling. Is like how can we actually onboard a user in the nicest and easiest way so they get to see what's going on. And that's where we can already start to see like a little hint coming in later is, does it work exactly how we thought? And have our hypothesis.
I think I was like a little bit naive at the start thinking that once you're running ads, it's just like set and forget. And it's definitely the same amount of effort as you would do for the cold outreach, but you get way more people for it. So we do the cold outreach and we force someone through the process by holding their hand. With the ads, we're putting the same amount of time in because you still have to create really good copy and you have to adjust everything, but you're getting more people for the same amount of time, which is kind of why we were doing the automated cold outreach at first, but that was like a disaster compared to the like one-on-one cold outreach.
Yeah. So the leverage there is way higher for your work or your effort. So we did touch on this quickly, but we'll just quickly highlight it again, is the alternatives, like what are our alternatives or what else we're doing? So we're doing cold email automated campaigns. We're doing direct reach outs or cold as well and warming them up over time. We're doing organic content, so like YouTube videos, Instagram, those kind of things. And we are now pivoting slightly more into more specific content because that's a learning over time. And then also SEO. So we did a little bit of SEO. We haven't done heaps of that because that's also a very long game. So it's something you need to keep doing in the background, but like, again, limited resources, you have to see what's giving you the best bang for buck. All right. So, and then moving from that, we decided let's go ads. Now there's quite a bit of learning to get started with Meta ads. It's not like it's not a simple process. Let's put it that way. They don't make it easy. So the first things first is like you need to set up your business account, right? So I would suggest when you're starting out, any startup and you are taking it seriously, is you go and do that really early on in the piece, because the longer the account's been sitting there, the better, because you're going to have some history. You want to get it like, we went and actually, because we're doing it through a proper company, it's all been registered and they've been verified, and all of that stuff takes time. So you don't want to be like doing it on the day when you want to launch ads, because you're going to put a delay there. So that's something you want to get started. Another thing that we did when we learning about Facebook ads was actually we did courses on like just understanding the platform. I did a bit of work on this a couple of years ago when I was building a platform that worked with Facebook ads. So I kind of knew a little bit, but the platform changes all the time. So you kind of did a refresher running through naming conventions, when to launch ads, how to set budgets, what audiences to use, all those kind of things. So it's very important to get around that and understand how they all work. And like just even understanding how a campaign versus an ad set versus an ad, because there's 3 different breakdowns as Facebook works. So just getting yourself familiar with that, super important. That's how we learnt. And obviously we use YouTube, right? So we watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos from experts who do this all day. And that really opens up your mind, because you think, hey, we're spending heaps of money. And then you hear about, like, our budgets are like $40 a day per campaign to test. And then we're hearing, from the big people, like, that's not even
$250,000 a day. Yeah.
Like realistically, people are spending $100,000 a month, right? Like big brands, That's what they're spending. So you're competing with that. You have to understand, like when you're competing, especially in our space with productivity, you're competing against, the big players who are spending hundreds of thousands. So that's why you see the same ad 50 times a day when you're watching a YouTube clip or you're on Facebook. So learning about and understanding how Facebook works, super important. So that's like something you just want to highlight, and getting your account set up. And I would even say start spending some money on ads, even though you're not really taking it seriously early on, right? Like it could just be like literally $5, $10, because what Facebook does is it slowly ratchets up your allowed amount, because they're going to start trusting you. The first couple of times it's going to cap your spend really hard, because it's like, hey, you're new, you could be dodgy. So get that spending. And also something super important, make sure your payment method, this is also what happens, is your payment methods are going to get flagged as they're getting used. Like your bank are going to flag Facebook, because they're like, hey, Facebook keeps charging you, so mine will start blocking. You don't want that to happen when you're trying to run ads and it's mission critical. You want to do that early on. So that happened to us early on when we're still experimenting, and I can just be like, cool, yep, allow this transaction, and we can keep moving forward. So make sure your payment method never runs out of money. That's super key. Something to watch. Get your bank to approve it and then say yes, allow. Even a secondary payment method would be really good, so you don't ever get flagged. And then just make sure you're doing all the validations. Get it set up early, and then you can start actually, when you're ready, it's all good to go. So
just to circle back for 1 sec on YouTube videos or YouTube accounts that we watched, there was Dara Denny, Ben Heath, Nick Theriot. Those are the 3 that I was like, those ones have a lot of useful info. It can be hard sometimes to like filter of what you actually need to know, because there's a lot of different topics to cover, but getting started, everything Ken's just discussed is what you need to know. Getting stuff set up and which campaigns to use and stuff.
Ben actually does a really good, like there's an hour-long video that's just like, as a beginner, how to set up, and he talks through the whole thing, and it's free. Like it's amazing. Like I paid for a course, but I think Ben's video is actually better than the course that I did. So something to keep in mind. We'll link those in. Let's link those in the description as well, if you remember.
Yep.
Then we have set up his business manager, but then part 2 to set up is your pixel, right? So Facebook uses a pixel, or Meta uses a pixel. It's called the Meta pixel now. And you want to set that, and you're going to put that on your website. You're going to embed it through JavaScript or something. But that's going to basically, every time a Facebook user hits it, it's going to know, okay, this type of user is looking or interacting. Set that up really early. Set that up prior to running your ads, because what's it going to do, you're going to start collecting data. So Facebook's going to start to know, these are the kind of people that come to this website, because most likely they have an Instagram or Facebook account. So they're going to know who the person is, right? We don't know, they know. From there though, conversion tracking. So when you have someone sign up or do an action that you care about, have a conversion event happening there for Facebook. So it's going to tell it, hey, when they sign up, these type of people are landing on the page and these type of people are converting. So prior to even running ads, Facebook already knows the users that are converting. It already knows that. So when it starts to run ads, it can actually already start figuring things out a little bit quicker. So very important. And especially when you run an ad with you, like what's the action that you want to take place. So for us, it's a registration conversion, like that, or event. That's what we call a conversion. That's what Facebook care about. So you're going to say, I care about that metric, and it's going to look for the people that create that metric or generate that event. And then from there, you can really start driving the traffic through and actually putting money in and getting the result you want, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, do you want to have a purchase or do you want to lead or whatever you're doing? Do that, but do that early. I think that's a key thing. It's like some of the stuff is like, we didn't know that, and if I'd known, I would have put the pixel on day one. I didn't know, but if I did, I would have. So that's the setup. I think, is there anything else that we did in the setup phase that's kind of important there?
I guess depending on how you've built your landing page and everything, just make sure that you can trigger these events of like conversion. So obviously we're tracking a lot of things past an initial flow where it like gets handed off to PostHog and it tells us how far they made it down an onboarding flow and stuff. Making sure that you can do all of those things, because otherwise you will have, once you start spending money, some mystery. You want to eliminate as much mystery as possible of like, the conversion tracking. If you just set that as filled out email, that might be useful if you're just trying to get emails. But if you're trying to get a sign up to the thing, they fill out their email, they go to the next step, and then they abandon. Make sure you can track that through. Otherwise, the money that you're spending, you could be misattributing and saying like, it's going really well, but no one's actually, it's not having a business outcome because they don't get further than that. So making sure that you can track the whole way through, which I think you were saying with the UTM parameters is how we do it now on PostHog.
Yeah. So this is actually an area where we want to improve a lot, because there is a lot of mystery in it. And what the problem is, like, it's not there's mystery to it, but you can figure it out. Like, it is possible to figure it out. It just takes a lot of time. And this is where we want to figure out how can we make it quicker to understand. Like, so what am I talking about? I'm talking about when a user clicks on an ad, it comes to ClipFlow and then signs up. And which ads, so with Facebook, you can see click-through rates, you can see conversions. But what we want to see easily for us is, like, in our app, when we're getting users, is which ad brought that user to the landing page, and then which ads are those users converting. And you can see that in Facebook, but we want to see that user now inside of ClipFlow. So we can see long-term, okay, so this user came from this type of ad, and over time, they're actually the best user. So this messaging creates the best result for us long-term, because we're looking for lifetime value, not just one sign up. Like, we're not selling one product. We're selling a product for a long time. So we want to really say over time, like, maybe this ad converts lower, but the user that comes out of
your cheapest ad isn't necessarily your best ad for a long-term user.
Yeah. So that's where we need to try to figure out the LTVs. Like, so lifetime value of that customer. And then you can work out, and you hear this in the ad world, the ROAS, which is the return on ad spend. So I spent $60 getting this person, but in the long story, they stayed for 2 years and they generated me X. So the spend versus the outcome is your return on ad spend. Once you know that number, like, you can really just ratchet money, because you can throw money. If you know that $50 makes me $500, you can just keep throwing money because it's just a 10xer. You know that every dollar you put in, you're getting 10 out. So you don't have to stress so much, right? Then you're just tweaking numbers. So that's something really important to figure out, is like tracking users through your process. And you can do it, like Darrell just said, is UTM parameters in the ads. You can actually set those and define them. And then on your app side, when someone signs up, you almost want to store that. I would almost argue storing that against the user for life, because you know, like, that user came from that ad. So if you ever want to look back and say, these are my top 10, because you're going to have top 10, 20% of users over time. And then we can figure out, okay, well, these came from referral, these came from, invites, these came from Facebook, and these came from this style of ad. Because that's really going to give us deep insights into what works in the long term. So that's something that we're going to improve on, so that we can see it. But PostHog is really good at showing us where that user came in, and then, we're getting the Facebook, and then we can see how they're actually interacting with the landing page, which is really good. So I would suggest as well is having some sort of tool so that you can watch user sessions. It's all anonymous, so you don't know who that person is, but you can see how they're interacting. Like, do they land on the page and just scroll through it? Do they land on it and they read it? Do they click on anything? all that kind of stuff. So that's really important to actually track and make sure you're pulling up the right data.
Yep.
All right.
And that leads well into our results so far because it ties into people just scrolling straight through the landing page and all the copy we wrote. So let's go into that.
So with that one is we actually had the hypothesis of an ad should land and should really be talking to the page that it lands on, right? So like what you see in the ad should be, okay, I'll provide a bad example of this is where you click on an ad for something like a product on Instagram and then you land on the homepage of an e-commerce website. And you're like, well, how do I find that product? And you just abandon because you're like, well, that's not what I clicked on. So we want to say like, well, you're talking about this thing, so then you should land, because our homepage prior to this wasn't very strong. Obviously, it was something we built before. I mean, it was one of the first things we built in that with the app. So it was still learning. But now we've learned a lot more and we really know the pain points, like what features people care about most. So we can talk on that. But we built a land page that kind of kept hitting the pain points. And that's kind of what you hear in the space of landing pages, like keep talking about pain points and don't offer a solution till down the bottom. What we found for our app, and it's probably because we're in SaaS and a slightly different problem, we're not offering a course or, trying to sell you information, is that people tend to convert for us way better on our homepage than our landing pages. And the homepage has way more features, talking actual app features. It's more imagery, less talking about pain points. It kind of sells itself quicker. And we've seen, what's the difference? I'm trying to pull the exact number here, but I think we're talking about
a homepage conversion was $8 versus 18. It might have gone up a bit more, but it was, I think we're seeing less than half the cost.
Yeah, so the actual conversion, so click-through rate to conversion, I think we were talking 12 to 18% difference. So 12% for landing and 18% for home. So there's about a 6%. So you're getting 6% better result just from the landing page. So this is very important, again, to test things, right? Like you want to have different landing pages and different campaigns set up so that you can actually run those campaigns against landing pages on your site. Because Facebook could be doing a great job sending you traffic, but then you're losing the lead there because you're not selling them properly. Yep. So we've still got a lot of experimentation to come with that. Shortened ones, like we've got a really long one. What's a short one look like? What's a VSL look like? So a video sales letter. So if you land and you just have like Darrell and I just talking to you, what does that do? We've noticed a lot of like, which we should know already, which it's always come as a surprise, but most of your traffic comes through mobile. So really you want to be designing these things for mobile first. Desktop looks awesome. Like our homepage looks amazing on desktop, but then you shrink it down and it actually isn't as strong. Mm-hmm. So and mobile users want to watch video. They don't want to scroll as much. They behave differently. So how do you work with that? So these are all things you learn over time and things you need to experiment with. So running those campaigns. So our results, like talking straight numbers at the moment, we've tried 5 different campaigns already. So we started with Advantage Plus shopping campaign and we had all our creatives in there and that went to our landing page. We tried that way. And that was the cost per result there was about $41. We got 5 results and we reached like 6,600 views and link clicks 51, click-through rate of 0.78%. So decent. Then we ran 2 more Advantage Plus campaigns where we trialed different landing pages. So one was the dark version, one was the light version. So we had different versions of the page and we wanted to see if there was any difference in conversion there. So we did that. We also tried different types of headlines. Again, we saw, what do we have? A link click-through rate of 0.6 and 0.74, so not very good, and very few conversions. So 2 conversions and 1 conversion. So all up with all the Advantage Plus stuff, we saw 8 conversions and we had ranging from $37 for our cheapest cost per result to $73. Now, $73 for a free user, that's not what you want to be paying. I certainly do not. So after that, launched a broad audience. So broad just meaning there's full age limit, heaps of countries, as many people as we can fit in the bucket, basically. And we landing with that one. So it was a manual campaign. and that went to the landing page as well. So it was kind of like do an A/B test on broad manual versus an Advantage Plus. Now we very quickly saw that this was converting better. We're down to $22 a result, and we've got 11 results, and we've spent about the same as the thing. So we got 11 results versus 5 with the Advantage shopping campaign. So that's a substantial difference. Like for me, that's almost double. It's more than double, right? So, and half the price. So yeah, obviously it's the same spend, so it's half the price. The conversion rate's half the price, and that's by doing a manual campaign. And that kind of goes a little bit against conventional wisdom, because a lot of people are saying run the Advantage Plus campaigns. Facebook pushing it hard. They're like, use this. So I was like, cool, let's try it. But it just didn't really work for us. Then what we did now, the latest one, is we've introduced we duplicated the broad campaign, but what we're doing is we're now targeting our homepage. So we said, okay, what does the conversion look like if we go homepage? So what we're seeing here is, like we just discussed before, is we've already got 7 results, and our cost per result is $16.85. So again, quite substantially lower. So we're slowly ratcheting that cost per result down, which is what we want. And we're seeing, good traction. So now what we can do there is put some fuel on the fire. We can throw in some more money and see if it scales, like if it does it actually scale with money. And then also what we need to do now is try new ad creatives. So I guess we can kind of talk about the ad creatives that we're running at the moment, the kind of style that we're doing.
Just before we go into the creatives, just based on the money thing. So for $16 a result, we could very much easily afford that if we were converting. So at the moment, just for anyone who's listening, we're not converting people from free to paid. We're talking about an entirely lifetime free user, which is where 16 gets uncomfortable. But if you were talking about $16 for a result for a free trial sign up, and you knew that 1 in 10 was signing up, then you've got $160 customer acquisition cost, and the lifetime value of that person is 3, 4, 5 months, 2 years, whatever it is. It's very much affordable at that rate. And someone like a Monday.com or an Notion, who converts from a free user to an enterprise sales thing, probably has more of a budget, like $500 or $600 per free sign up. Like they would have insane, because they know on the tail end they can get $20,000 to $200,000 for the number of users that come on with an enterprise customer.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what your product is. And if you were selling just an immediate sign up to a paid thing, just look at the value of the sign up in the first month and try and keep it half that, is sort of where I'd start from.
So it's been very good. So our ad creators actually would have to say low effort. Like we haven't been, like I did it in one day personally. I'm not a designer. I just chucked some testimonials together, chucked a few creatives up, and we just went. And like to get that kind of result with very low effort. Now, this is where you're kind of like seeing, okay, well, if you can just put a little bit more effort into this and actually dedicate some time and test, because that's one of the biggest learnings we've seen is you always look and you go, oh, we're spending heaps of money. Then you watch some people talking about real money and you go, okay, the minimum to test an ad creative is $50 a day. We're spending $40. So we're below the minimum, and it should run for 7 days. Okay. So don't check your ad account every day, because it's a filthy addiction. I can promise you that. And then just run it and be comfortable with that. And you're going to test it. When you want to test a new creative, run it in its own. So what I'm seeing so far and what we're going to try is run it in its own ad set with its own budget, so you can pump all the money into that and get the learnings. Because what you'll see is if you add a new creative into an existing campaign or existing ad set, it can actually sometimes damage the performance of the campaign, because now Facebook's chucks a new creative in, has to test it, and then like it's not putting all the money where you want it to go, and now your results are dropping because you're doing testing. If you want to do testing, and I saw this, it was really good at that video last night. Who was that girl, Darrell?
Dara Denny. Yeah, Dara Denny.
So her video was
might pronounce
really
that
good.
differently.
Yeah, so a really good video talking about this kind of stuff. So this is where we're going to go and actually now grab new ad sets or even campaigns. I don't know which way to go about it, but it's setting that up and then just testing different types of creative that are kind of similar but with big variations, and doing 3 or 4. And then Darrell linked me today. We need to be doing way more ad creatives. Like thinking that, so we've got like 20, but we need to be doing hundreds. Like they say, the bigger the people that are spending money on Facebook have more creators. I think that link that you sent me, that the guy had was saying they have up of 500 different ad creatives running at any time.
Yeah,
right?
or
And
like
this is
another one I saw, which I think Dara shared in one of the videos, was like they run 2,000 or 20,000 a year, and like 1% of them are good. And like it's
yeah,
all creative. Yeah, you think it's creative. No, it's all just math based and science based, and you have to be quite scientific about the whole
yeah,
process. Even if you
yeah,
love an ad creative, you're like, I shot all of this, it looks amazing. If it's not working after you've tested and you found out, cut it off, kill all your babies, and just do the ones that are really pumping money into the system.
yeah, because that's what all that matters. Like no one
Yep.
really cares. Like so for us, that's our next plan. So moving forward, is generating more creative. We can also experiment with video. So there's video is now, most people say there's been surveys that Ben showed where they're saying 60% of their best performance comes from videos. And then you're talking image only and then carousel and then other. So video is a real big part. Not always. So it depends on the product. If you're selling a very easy product to consume, like a small one times buy, you can probably get away with this simple thing. But if you're trying to sell someone, like ClipFlow's a service we're trying to sell, which is, we ask quite a bit here. It's like you got to move your entire workflow over. So you can need to probably spend a bit more time explaining it and the benefits and so you can get a bit more time with it and educate the user before they click through. Because we could be paying for clicks, but people don't even know what they're clicking on,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
And you're
lot
just
of
kind of wasting money.
education's a lot easier in video. You've got more time with them. Like you've got the freedom
Mm.
of at least 3 seconds, which might be more than they read the first two words of an image. So
Yeah, and you can find your CPM will probably be cheaper as well. So CPM's cost per milli, is which means cost per thousand impressions. And
yep.
because these platforms are very video focused, they care very much about video. You'll see they'll serve them up. It's almost like if your video is really good in an ad, like the better your ad is. If your ad's almost entertainment, and you have people like Mosey does, he killed this. His ad was so funny, like you want to watch it again, even though it's just an ad. So if you can get to that kind of level, you can get your costs down, get way more impressions, and you'll get way better conversions as well. So
Yep.
it's something that we want to definitely work on. Darrell's been doing some really cool stuff with creatives. So we'll see how that goes. And we'll probably do an update in the future again, like, what we learned from here.
Three
But we just
three
wanted
months
to,
in, yeah.
yeah, we just wanted to give a quick outline and some tips and tricks to kind of avoid and things to do, but it's a very cool experiment, and it is all about just getting data. And I think the course that I did was really good, where he just said, you're not paying for sales, you're paying for data. So for us, it's very important. And one of the key insights we're seeing is that users may not be finding it that easy to get started in ClipFlow. So we
Yep.
need to work out how do we get them? So we're getting them in, but how do we now get them attached and actually starting to use it? And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we need to work on. So it's very good. We got these results early rather than waiting until, we're ready to launch paid, and then no one attaches. Because like
Yep.
all of the people we talk to are attached because we can talk to them. We know them, that, we've got a relationship. Whereas when it becomes like a random person signing up on the internet, there's no connection and the product has to do all the work.
Yep.
Sweet as. Awesome.
Nice. See you in 3 months, ad people.
Yeah. Catch you later. Bye.